Dear students of first BSc, this is the poem that you have to study for this semester. The first poem from your syllabus, Education of Nature by William Wordsworth. Before I begin the poem, to talk about the poem, let me say a few words about the poet William Shakespeare, who lived from 1770 to 1850. I think all of you must have heard about William Shakespeare because he is one of the most popular poets in English literature. Wordsworth started the Romantic movement in England in English poetry along with S.T. Coleridge. He was educated at Cambridge and he lived in the Lake District in northwest England with his sister Dorothy. Dorothy documented their quiet existence in her journals, and this was the time when Wordsworth wrote his best poems. Wordsworth is a nature poet, and his poems speak about the beauty of nature and its relationship with humans. In many of his poems, he has described the countryside of the Lake District. Wordsworth as a poet. According to Wordsworth, or his theory of poetry, Wordsworth says that poetry is a spontaneous overflow of powerful emotions or feelings recollected in tranquility. Wordsworth realized that nature had a certain power in her and also a corresponding power in his soul. So nature is not just a physical phenomenon but a living entity. He regarded nature as his best teacher, both intellectual and spiritual. Nature exercised upon the poet the discipline of fear and joy. When Wordsworth wrote poetry, he wrote about the things that appealed to his senses, and he penned the beauty of nature into verse. So the poem Education of Nature is the most popular of Lucy poems. It was composed in the year 1799 and published in 1800. In this poem, the story of the little girl Lucy is narrated by nature herself. The poem talks about the growth of Lucy from a little girl to a mature beauty and the process by which this beauty is achieved. The poet takes up nature as the greatest teacher possible. The poem embodies Wordsworth's nature philosophy. Nature is regarded as a living power who shapes and molds the personality of man and In this poem, nature shapes and molds the character of Lucy, the physical development of Lucy, until the untimely demise of his beloved daughter Lucy. So we see that the poem is also a lyrical elegy. He mourns for his daughter Lucy, who dies very early in her life, and nature is not able to complete the education of Lucy. Now, I have told you that this poem is an elegy. What is an elegy? An elegy is a lament, a sad song for the dead. So the poem is a sad poem written to express sorrow for someone who is dead, in this case, the poet's daughter Lucy. And the poet, the narrator, talks about the unrequited love for his beloved daughter Lucy, who leaves this world at a very young age. Her death at a young age weighs heavily on the poet, and that is why this poem has a melancholic, that is a very pathetic, a sad tone, and it is elegiac in expression. When we study poems, students, we have to also concentrate on the figures of speech. So the basic simple ones that you have to study are simile, personification, and metaphor. In this poem, you will see examples of personification, simile, antitheses, and metaphors. Now, what is personification? The attribution of human characters to non-living things or non-humans or inanimate objects is personification. For example, the wind howled in the night. A simile is a figure of speech that makes a direct comparison between two things. While comparing two things, words such as like and as are used. For example, our soldiers are as brave as lions. Antithesis refers to the juxtaposition of opposing or contrasting ideas. Example, man proposes, God disposes. Then you have a metaphor. A metaphor is a figure of speech that describes an object by making an implied comparison. Example, the curtain of night fell upon us. Students, I'm not sure whether you have your textbooks with you, and that is why I am presenting this poem through slides also. So if you don't have the textbook, you have the poem before you here now, and I will first read out the poem. Stanza 1 onwards we begin. 3 years she grew in sun and shower. Then nature said, a lovelier flower on earth was never sown. This child I to myself will take. She shall be mine, and I will make a lady of my own. Myself will to my darling be both law and impulse, and with me the girl, in rock and plain, in earth and heaven, in glade and bower, shall feel an overseeing power to kindle or restrain. She shall be sportive as the fawn that wild with glee across the lawn, or up the mountain springs, and hers shall be the breathing balm, and hers the silence and the calm of mute, insensate things. The floating clouds their state shall lend to her, for her the willow bend, nor shall she fail to see, even in the motion of the storm, grace that shall mold the maiden's form by silent sympathy. The stars of midnight shall be dear to her, and she shall lean her ear in many a secret place, where rivulets dance their wayward round, and beauty born of murmuring sound shall pass into her face. And vital feelings of delight shall rear her form to stately height, her virgin bosom swell. Such thoughts to Lucy I will give, while she and I together live here in this happy dell. Thus nature spake. The work was done. How soon my Lucy's race was run. She died and left to me this heath, this calm and quiet scene, the memory of what has been and never more will be. So that we come to the end of the poem. Now students, I have taken 3 lines at a time, stanza wise. I read out the 3 lines and give an explanation to these 3 lines. So first we will look at lines 1 to 3 from stanza 1. 3 years she grew in sun and shower. The nature said, a lovelier flower on earth was never sown. So 3 years she refers to Lucy here. She's growing in the lap of nature. Then nature said. So we see that nature is personified. Nature speaks, and nature calls Lucy a lovelier flower, which is a metaphor. Lucy is compared to a flower. And nature tells us that she is the most beautiful entity on earth, the finest flower, and she will bloom and blossom into a beautiful lady. Lines 4 to 6. This child I to myself will take, she shall be mine, and I will make a lady of my own. This child is again Lucy, and I is nature. Nature tells us that she will take Lucy into her care, mold her character, and will train and develop Lucy into a lady of her choice. Line 7 to 8. Myself will to my darling be, both law and impulse, and with me the girl in rock and plain. Nature explains how she will bring up Lucy, teach her to act in impulse, sometimes be regulated with the proper convictions called the law. Nature will bless Lucy with energy, and also see that the energy is regulated. Lines 10 to 12. In earth and heaven, in glade and bower, shall see an overseeing power to kindle or restrain. So we have here antitheses. Two opposites are juxtaposed. For example, you see rock and plain, earth and heaven, glade and bower. These are all figures of speech. Lucy will realize nature's ruling power in earth and heaven, valley and bower, plain and mountain, in the pleasant and the shady place under the trees. That is, she will experience the power of nature. Nature will kindle in her. It will act as an impulse to proper motivation, and it will also teach her how to restrain herself. Lines 13 to 15. She shall be sportive as the fawn. Sportive as the fawn. So you have here the figure of speech, simile. Lucy is compared to a little deer. Lucy will be playing around the meadows and the mountains like a deer with wild glee and untamed joy. She will also possess the strength to climb the mountains and would eventually learn the lessons of life. Stanza 16 to 18. And hers shall be the breathing balm, and hers the silence and the calm of mute, insensate things. And hers, Lucy, here will enjoy the soothing breath of air, making her calm and relaxed. Breathing balm refers to the fragrant breath of nature, the sweet smell of nature, and nature's objects will infuse in Lucy silence and calm and poise. Insensate things refers to things which lack all physical feelings. Stanza 19 to 21. The floating clouds their state shall lend to her, for her the willow bend, nor shall she fail to see. State, the floating clouds, their state, their dignity, she will learn how to be a dignified person from the clouds. And the willow trees will teach her humility. Lucy will learn the virtues of modesty from the willows. Stanza 4, line 22 to 24. even in the motions of the storm. Grace that shall mold the maiden's form by silent sympathy. So every moving object in nature is going to teach Lucy how to carry herself, how to behave, and it will shape the personality and also the appearance of Lucy. This will be the silent influence of nature on Lucy, and she will learn to be modest, she will learn to be graceful, and there will be a bond between Lucy and nature, just as there is a bond between the teacher and the students. Stanza 5, line 25 to 27. The stars of midnight shall be dear to her, and she shall lean her ear in many a secret place. Now, the stars are going to teach her the stars love her, would be enduring to her, and she would love to see the stars from a secret place. She will have the privilege to peep into the secrets of nature from a hidden place, or from she will learn about the secrets of nature which are hidden to us. Stanza 5, lines 28 to 30. Where rivulets dance their wayward round, and beauty born of murmuring sound shall pass into her face. Here she is going to learn from the flowing waters, from the rivulets, the small streams which go round and round, and like in a spontaneous dance. The soft murmuring sounds of the streams shall lend beauty and charm to Lucy's face. So the pleasures that are gained from the harmonious sounds of the stream shall find expression in the face of Lucy. Lines 31 to 33. The vital feelings of delight shall rear her form to stately height, her virgin bosom swell. The delightful feelings that are important to our lives will make Lucy a divine person. They will make Lucy divinely tall. She will acquire maturity and grow from a child into a woman. She will attain womanhood. Lines 34 to 36. Such thoughts to Lucy I will give, while she and I live together here in this happy dell. Such thoughts to Lucy I will give. When she lives with me in this valley, she will learn many things from nature, from the stars, from the willow trees, from the mountains, from the streams. And so nature says that while she is with Lucy in this valley, she will infuse into her genuine feelings. Stanza 37 to 39. Thus nature spake, the work was done. How soon my Lucy's race was run. She died and left to me. Thus, nature tried to educate Lucy. But the work of nature was incomplete because Lucy died. Lucy's life was cut short by nature. This heat, this calm and quiet scene, the memory of what has been and never more will be. Heath refers to a wide area of land without trees. So, the poet's life, nothing in the poet's life, nothing is left with the death of Lucy except her memory. These lines tell us that the poet is greatly grieved because he can never get back his Lucy. He feels very lonely without his daughter. Lonely, sad, melancholic. And this reminds us once again of a line from another Lucy poem. But she is in her grave, and oh, the difference to me. So far, students, I've given a very short analysis of the poem line-wise, and points are there at the end of each slide explaining the lines. Now, from your examination point of view, as I've told you in the first video that has been posted, you will have to answer annotation questions. Now here I've given you 3 examples of the way annotation questions will appear for the examination. A scene passage will be given. 3 questions will be asked. The first question carries 1 mark. Second and the third question carry 2 marks each. So here we have annotation on line 1 to 6. For example, the first question that could be asked is who is she and who is I? So she refers to Lucy and I refers to nature. Explain the figure of speech. Here you have metaphor, as I've already told you, because Lucy is compared to a lovelier flower. Third question is what role does nature want to play on Lucy? Nature wants to play the role of a teacher. So you have the second annotations again from line 8 to 12. Who is the girl? As we all know, the poem is related to Lucy. So every time they ask who is she, who is the girl, then it is Lucy. Where will she realize nature's overseeing power? She will realize nature's power in the earth and the heavens, the valley and tower, in the plain and mountains. Explain the figure of speech in these lines. So as I've already told you, contrasting ideas are brought together. They are juxtaposed, and you have earth and heaven, glade and bower as rock and plain as antithesis. Next annotation is based on lines 13 to 18. So once again, Lucy, who is she? Lucy. Explain the figure of speech. Here you have a simile because it is a direct comparison between Lucy and a fawn or a deer, young one of a deer. What does the phrase breathing balm mean? That is question number C. It means the sweet smells of nature, the breath in nature. So here we come to the end of our lesson. I hope you have had a fruitful time. So please go through the poem and try to understand it better. Thank you, students.